Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450 with Stark Dog, Nicorelli, Grammy, and E-Rock the Magician. Call in with your questions or suggestions. 529-1450.
Good morning. You are listening to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450. I'm your host, Stark Dog, I guess. E-Rock the Magician to my left. Grammy across the way, and Nicorelli running the show today. We appreciate everyone tuning in today. We're with you every Saturday morning from 8 until 9 and streaming live on the webpage at Sports Radio 1450. Poll question still up there. What is the most important position on your fantasy football team? And running back, leading the way right now, defense is second, shockingly, I thought.
Who's voting for this stuff? Defense is second?
Well, I don't know. I can't vote because when I log on this computer, it doesn't let me vote.
Oh.
That's the way that works. But you guys can vote. SportsRadio1450.com is the place to go there. Big day today, week 5 already. Hard to believe. The season's moving right along. And injuries. We'll run through all of those. And we'll always take your questions about who should play, who should not play at 529-1450. We'll also keep you up to date on the buys this week. You always have to keep those in mind as they've started that. That started last week. This week, only 4 teams on a buy, so that's a little bit different. Last week there was a few teams on a bye, wasn't there?
Only 3 teams on a bye. The Rams don't count, Adam.
True that.
Oh, by the way, congratulations. Adam come through in one of his leagues and got win number 1. He's on a roll now.
Woo!
Look out.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
Just one of your leagues.
Just
though, right?
one. Yeah.
You didn't win in our league.
The other one's still 0-4.
Oh, man.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
So wait, you're 1-7 now?
There's still another team in that league that's 0-4.
It's not just you, yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But you and as you told me before we come on the air, it's not like you're getting blown out either, though.
No, Eric's the only team that actually beat me pretty soundly. The other times I'm getting average beat by 6. So that's not too bad. Not too bad. If you're in the same boat as me,
one touchdown a week.
Exactly.
It's
exactly. And it happens every week too. Like a couple weeks ago, Vincent Jackson slipped up and was down at the 1. T.O. should have had a touchdown. They didn't give it to him. You know, stuff like that.
Speaking of T.O., I know this. I don't know if you were going to talk about this.
But I don't want to sound like a Cub fan. I'm not blaming it on anything else.
That's right.
I was waiting for it.
Speaking of T.O.,
2 minutes in,
guys, what he was talking about over the week, not getting thrown to enough. When he gets 20 balls either handed to him or thrown to him, geez, criminy, come on, let's go here. Let's quit whining and start catching some of these that he's dropping.
That's T.O.
He's something, man.
And then Al Davis, him and Al Davis belong. They've been even put in a room together somewhere.
T.O. is T.O. That's the way he is. Randy Moss, same way. All those big wideouts, they want the ball, and it's been like that forever. You know, Jerry Rice, he wanted the ball every time, too. He just didn't talk about it so much.
Yeah, that's
just not publicly.
Right.
On the sidelines, he would be.
Oh, he'd tell Steve and Joe about it.
And telling people what he wanted, but not publicly like T.O.
I love, like, after the playoffs last year, though, he comes out and he's like, crying, here's my quarterback. And then, like, this past week, he just totally throws him under the bus. When the ball gets to me, we get in the end zone. It's like, dude, you got thrown to 20 times.
He's a drama queen, but
give me a break.
He's still really, really good.
Yeah, he is.
And I like him on my football team. And we'll also run through a lot of pickups, a lot of ads this week because there's a lot of injuries. And last week we talked jokingly about Rashard Mendenhall getting his head knocked off. Well, pretty darn close. They fractured his shoulder, so he's done for the year.
I was hoping.
And Mwelde Moore, a big pickup this week by a lot of teams with Willie Parker still being out. And the Steelers obviously have to do something with that running game. I picked him up in one of my leagues. And another guy Eric was talking about, too, at the beginning of the show, Lance Moore has been picked up by a lot of people. Tell us why.
Well, he's basically all they have in New Orleans. And you know Drew Brees is such a yardage freak. He throws the ball so much. So Lance Moore has really stepped up and kind of become the go-to guy with Colston being out. So I picked him up, and I have him plugged in, and I think he's going to be a good play. He's actually my sleeper pick of the week, just to spoil that now.
That wide receiver core is getting to be a lot like Seattle's. I mean, they've got injuries along with Shockey, Colston. David Patton's going to be out this week, so they're down to number 4, 5, and 6 guys. So, yeah, Moore is a real good look this week along with Meacham.
And Seattle, as you bring him up, Mark, they do have a tough matchup this week, but again, someone's got to do something. So I saw on your roster that you have both Ingram and Branch. Who are you going to play?
I haven't decided yet, but I know both of them are supposed to play this week. I don't know if I expect much out of them the first week out, but at least it's something for Hasselbeck to look at in the future. So the guys who have Hasselbeck can at least take a sigh and know that down the road that he's going to have his weapons back.
Well, the stud, duds, and sleepers will come later on in the show, but for right now, those are some of the guys that you can pick up if you're listening right now. Ingram, Branch, Meweldy Moore, and Lance Moore, all available in a lot of leagues anyway. And then there's some other guys we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. But let's run through the huge laundry list of injuries. There's a ton at every single position, even kickers. So we're going to run through some of the big names that are on the injury report this week for week number 5. Let's go. Eric, let's start with the quarterbacks.
Well, Brody Croyle, Kansas City quarterback, has a shoulder sprain. He's staying out, and he's probably not going to come back until after the Chiefs' Week 6 bye. So if for some reason you're rolling with Brody Croyle, I apologize for starters. and you probably won't have him back until Week 7. Jake Delhomme, quadriceps. He's been practicing in full, and he's going to start. He's going to play, so don't worry about that. Gus Frerotte had a hand laceration, suffered on his non-throwing hand last week. But he's also expected to go ahead and make the start Monday night. So don't worry about that either. John Kitten has a sprained knee, but he's also been practicing in full. A real issue, a guy like Carson Palmer, something that actually might make a difference. Carson Palmer has been practiced in full, made all the throws Friday, but he's still hurting a little bit. And I just heard that it's an injury that if it gets re-aggravated, it could put him out for a while. So they're going to watch that close. And if you have Carson Palmer, hopefully you've got a backup plan already in place. But that's the issue on him. Aaron Rodgers, they're going to let us know 90 minutes before game time.
Perfect.
Yeah, great. If he's going to be able to start for Green Bay. He practiced. He made some throws. They're going to give him a shot in the shoulder and see if he can do it. But watch out. Keep a close eye on that if you're an Aaron Rodgers owner. And also, last one, Vince Young finally came back from his knee injury, but he's still going to be the number 3 quarterback.
Knee injury.
Yeah, that's what
he's got to get his head on straight. But right now, the quarterback's not that bad, really,
no.
As far as the guys that were already out. You already knew about them. Palmer and Rodgers, game time decisions, but Palmer, you probably want to sit him since they're playing down. So we do have a phone call. 529-1450 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101.
Hey, guys, thanks a lot. I'm not going to tell you which side of the trade I'm getting on this. I want to know what your guys' opinions
all right,
you guys can
okay.
post in this trade.
Tricky
Who gets
Bengals.
better into the trade? It's on one side of it, it's Ernest Graham, Calvin Johnson, and Vincent Jackson. On the other side, it's Clinton Portis, Antonio Gates, and Lee Evans. And I'll hang up and listen.
That sounds actually like a pretty fair trade to me. I'd say you might want to stick with Portis. I think that side sounds a little bit stronger anyway.
I really like Calvin Johnson. I really, really like Calvin Johnson. And Detroit's supposed to be coming out with a bunch of 4 wide receiver looks and really, really trying to air the ball out, which only makes sense, seeing as how their wide receivers are much better than anything they have at running back. And Ernest Graham's having a decent year. Vincent Jackson. I kind of like the Graham, Calvin Johnson, Vincent Jackson side myself.
This is a pretty close-looking trade to me, but I'd have to go the other way, just barely, though. I like Portis. Gates hasn't done a whole lot yet. Lee Evans is starting to show me, and that Buffalo offense, Trent Edwards is really starting to look good at quarterback, especially throwing the deep ball, and when he throws the deep ball, it's always to Evans. I'd like that part of the trade, but, boy, it's not that bad a trade for either side.
It's a fair trade. I mean,
It's
it is.
pretty.
You guys are in disagreement, but barely, and I'm just going to say that it's a fair trade, so...
My
Go
only
ahead.
problem with Lee Evans is he's a lot like Chris Chambers. He's a guy where he doesn't always catch a lot of balls. It's just that he seems to get into the end zone on a couple plays, and that's a guy that can kill you because if he only catches those 2 balls like he did last week, but he doesn't score, then you're sitting there looking at the 80 yards he picks up on 2 plays, and hopefully he'll get you at least that much. It scares me when a guy primarily just catches touchdowns.
You make a
low
good
number of
point,
receptions.
Eric. You make a good point. If it's a PPR league, then the trade is better on the other way.
Yep.
You're right. Evans is good with catching touchdown passes, but he doesn't catch a lot of balls in a game.
529-1450 is the phone number. Good morning. You're listening to Fantasy Football 101.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Question. Who would you recommend starting this week, McNabb or Jake Delhomme?
Good one.
I'd go
Boy.
Jake Delhomme.
I tell you what, I'd have to agree with Adam. Jake Delhomme here is just lately, I think, going to really find his niche. And I've said the last couple of weeks with Steve Smith back now, I think he's even better. And especially this week, they're at home against the Chiefs. The Chiefs looked pretty good last week, but boy, you'd have to think after that performance last week, they may be in for a letdown.